Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the Ten Commandments, and we're looking at command number 7, you shall not commit adultery. And as we are doing for these last commands, we're spending a lot of time in Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus explains how we keep these commands. As we mentioned, Jesus is going to be has claimed and will continue to claim that he is not only the fulfillment of the law, but the one who understands how to keep the law. And has told us and will continue to tell us that we have to keep them from the inside out. And that a narrow reading, that just refraining from certain acts, is not the same thing as keeping these laws. These laws are based upon God's will, and they are for our benefit. The Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And therefore, they are expansive in the claims they make on us, as we described the Beatitudes as being expansive on the claims they make on us. And Jesus makes that clear, and that is so true when he talks about keeping the seventh commandment. Matthew chapter 5, verse 27, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks on a woman to lust for her has committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if your right eye makes you stumble, tear it out and throw it from you. For it is better for you that one of the parts of your body perish than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand makes you stumble, cut it off and throw it from you. For it is better for you that one of the parts of your body perish than for your whole body to go into hell. And whoever sends his wife away, let him give her a certificate of divorce. Of course, that's a quotation from Deuteronomy chapter 24. Jesus will expand upon this exception to this rule, I guess, this modification, perhaps we could say, in Matthew chapter 19. But there's no disagreement between Matthew 19 and Matthew 5. I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife except for the cause of unchastity makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Okay, we're not going to exhaust the whole notion of divorce and remarriage in these 5 minutes, or 7 or 8, or however many I take this morning. But we want to establish the simple rule that Jesus gives to us, the simple explanation that Jesus makes of that law, you shall not commit adultery. This goes all the way back to creation. God is the one who unites man and woman together. The unity between a husband and wife is the best metaphor for who God is as Father, Son, and Spirit. That's all the way back to Genesis chapter 1. God says, let us make man in our image, and in the image of God he made him. Male and female he created them. So in that passage in Genesis 1, God is both singular and plural. He's a he and an us. And in that passage, the husband and wife together are both a them and a him. So the husband and wife together are simultaneously singular and plural in the way that God is Father, Son, and Spirit, and yet one. And so there's something holy about that connection between husband and wife that God has created, something akin to how holy God is. And that cannot be violated. And Jesus says it's not enough just not to have sex with a woman who is not your wife. Jesus says, whoever looks on a woman for the purpose of lusting for her has committed adultery with her already. Now, Jesus will use in Matthew 19 the word fornication. I'm not sure what his Aramaic word is, but the Greek translation of that Aramaic word that Matthew uses is the word which is much broader than just adultery. But that's because the concept is much broader than their concept of adultery. What God means by adultery is not what they meant by adultery, and what often we mean by adultery. Adultery to them specifically meant a married person having sex with someone who is not their spouse. And in their rabbinic way of thinking, a man did not commit adultery against his wife. She could commit adultery against him, but in having sex with someone else, he committed adultery with her husband. Now, of course, that's so not what God intends, and Jesus reclaims God's original intention. In Matthew 19, Jesus goes even further to make this clear. Yes, you do commit adultery against your wife or against your husband. You are equal partners in this union that God has. In the same way that Father, Son, and Spirit are one, and there's not, a qualitative difference between them. Husband and wife are one, and there's not a qualitative difference between them. They have different roles to play in the relationship, but they are equals in that relationship. And you can commit adultery against your wife. And he talks about a wife divorcing her husband for the cause of fornication in Matthew 19, which in their legal system, wife did not have the right to divorce her husband. A husband could divorce his wife. Jesus establishes the right of a woman to divorce in Matthew chapter 19 for the cause of infidelity. And that infidelity can be with your members or with your thoughts. It can be external or internal, and both are equally condemned. He says if you look for the purpose of lusting, you have been unfaithful to your wife. That's what he says. He says it. And that is an important and chilling command in our day and age, where pornography use, even among Christians, even among Christian men, Christian women, is at epidemic proportions. You know that the studies are that Christians use pornography only slightly less than the average of the general population of the culture. It's just the fact, and it's readily available. I cannot imagine being a teenage boy now, knowing the boy that I was when I was 14, 15 years old, and to have, hard pornography available free on your phone, on your device, whenever you wanted it. And the psychological effects of pornography use are documented in secular sources. I mean, it ruins relationships between, it destroys a person's ability to have a productive mutual relationship with a partner, with a spouse. It just does. We are having, husbands and wives are having less physical contact with each other rather than more, and it's because pornography has destroyed that in a variety of ways that affect us deeply inside of our psyche. So when Jesus immediately says, listen, pull out your eyeballs if you have to do that to stop, or chop off your hands if you have to do that to stop, he's serious about this. He's serious about it. And it's not an accident that he talks about pulling out your eyes and chopping off your hands immediately after he talks to us about looking at another person with intent. That's not an accident. And we need to take this very seriously. This command, the way Jesus explains it, really gets to the heart of the way he uses the law and the way he properly uses the law. This is about who you are from the inside out, not just about keeping things on the up and up externally. It has to come from the inside out. Okay. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes. We'll continue our study next time.